All right, I think I'm live. As always, if you can't hear me right out the way, please let me know because sometimes I still don't trust YouTube. Otherwise, just for people joining us after the fact and even watching this video after it releases or after it goes live, this is mostly just a reflection on my time in Germany as I'm back in the States now, as you can tell. And I've moved my office once again because I love moving my office. And so yeah, this video is just really just kind of a reflection, answering questions from the community. If anyone has anything for me, basically about Germany, about my trip there, how it went, or spiritual questions about it, what I learned there. So I do have a list of topics I'm going to talk about, of course, and be answering questions from everyone here, and just mostly just chatting with everyone. There's a lot of new followers on the Wisdom of Odin since I left for Germany. I think when I left, I think I only had 36,000 or 37,000 subs, something like that. And now there's like 46,000. So there's about 10,000 more of you since I left for Germany. It's great. I think a lot of people are European followers. So any of the new followers, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching this content. I hope you enjoyed my content that I made in Germany. I don't do live streams very often. I mean, quite frankly, live streams are just absolutely terrifying. To sit here for an hour talking in a camera. I mean, yes, I do that to make a video, but also it's not live and doesn't have all you wonderful people there as well. But otherwise, it is good to see everyone. I see so many familiar faces all the way back to when I did the first live streams way back in the 1,000 subs days. So it's always good to see so many returning faces. Del Snyder, I saw you in here somewhere. Of course, I see you, Heath and Amanda. And a lot of new faces I haven't seen as well. So, of course, I don't know if you've ever been on this side of things, but it's kind of overwhelming to actually look at everything as it's kind of unfolding. So I do tend to just take breaks and kind of go through questions and responses about every 5 or 10 minutes. And then I kind of have like a main kind of subject I move with along the way as well. Raw and unedited is correct, Mr. Monster. So you get to see. So the first thing I should probably talk about is the image that you saw coming into this. For any of those waiting, it's just me going like, and the funny thing is I've been waiting for like 2 or 3 months to actually use that picture. So I took that amazing selfie of myself near Zugspitze in Germany, which is the tallest mountain there. And I was hiking around the lake that is at the base of that mountain. Absolutely gorgeous. But that was also the hottest day of the year. It was so weird. Like the first month I was there in June, it was probably, see, this is part of the thing. My brain's all messed up. So I was in Celsius. I mean, it was about 30 degrees Celsius, which I guess is about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And it was actually, the sun was just really intense being that high up. And I actually got really, really bad sunburn that day. Also because there was snow on top of the mountain. And so I was getting snow burn, which was horrific. And so that was just me like dying in heat in the middle of this field in Germany. And I was just like, this is how I feel right now. But ever since taking that picture, I've been waiting for an excuse to use it. And I could think of no better time than at this live stream to resemble my return to the United States and kind of how I'm feeling. That is kind of my mood in general since getting back. It's honestly been kind of hard to get back into the swing of things. I feel like I was in Germany just long enough to get used to living there, and now I'm back here and not used to living in America again. Let's see here. So I'm going to try to run through these a little bit. Again, sorry, my mind gets a little cluttered on these. So Del Schneider, do you feel any old energy at the pagan sites? So this is something I still have to talk about. So there is footage. This is kind of one of the cool things I wanted to bring up anyways, and this will be good for people joining in, after the fact. But I do have footage from Germany I have not used yet. So I was actually doing some kind of Indiana Jones exploring while they're following the breadcrumb trails of an ancient legend. So there's like the legend of the three Beatons or Bethans in Bavaria. And it's basically these three goddess figures, Norns, and they're like three mother goddesses that like help women in birth and things like that. And they were actually still part of the like Catholic mythos. They were like made into saints at some point, and then they were eventually removed from the canon besides like one of them. But there's still references to these three women across Bavaria. And so I was actually like, I went to a place that is still held as sacred for them. It's actually called like the Fountain of the Three Beatons. And it's like a healing well. And near that healing well is a burial mound of a 3,000-year-old Celtic priestess. And so I went to that burial mound, and that was amazing. So I saw quite a few things as far as like mostly Celtic pagan things, because Southern Bavaria was, as I've talked about in the videos, a lot of Celtic paganism and a lot of Celtic history. Of course, there is Germanic and Nordic history there as well, kind of intermingled with Roman. It's a whole mess. But I did go to this Celtic grave. I went to the Celtic ring for it, and then there was another burial mound there, and then a like Celtic druid stone as well, which I did, of course, talked about in the I went to Valhalla video. And so those are definitely the most charged sites. And there was definitely something there, and it was kind of spooky. It was more spooky vibes, and maybe because it was so old, and I've never actually encountered, well, really, I mean, I've never really encountered, European pagan energy because I've never been to Europe before. Of course, there's tons of like old pagan folk tales in the Appalachians, and that's one of the reasons I love the Appalachians so much. Is there's a lot of really old pagan energy, but it was just very different to be in Europe and experiencing that as well. So yes, I definitely felt some very spooky vibes while there, but spooky in a good way. So again, hello to everyone. There's a lot of you in here already. Oh my gosh, there's 68 of you in here already. And that's what terrifies me about live streams. But anyways, so White Wolf's Bushcraft Survival Skills. Hello from Arizona. Hello from Kentucky, where I'm at once again, and it's incredibly hot and humid. As soon as I got off that airport, like I landed in Cincinnati and I came out, and it was just an immediate wall of humidity, even though it was 10 o'clock at night. And I was like, welcome home, Jacob. Welcome home. Let's see here. Ader Nepharium. Hello. Golden EMP. Will ever do more readings from the Poetic Edda? So I've done 2 of those. I've done the Volspa and Grimness Maul, and it's been well over a year since I did those. Maybe. The only problem is I think I was going like chronologically, and then I hit like the Have 'em All, and I was like, oh, the Have 'em All so long. And then I ended up doing that 15 stanzas to live by video. And that was kind of like the reason I did that is because I was going to do a reading of the Have 'em All. There's, of course, many stories I can still do, which like Alvis Mall. I did do a reading of Locust in like a campfire reading back last summer. The thing is, I think I really want to transition these into live action movies, so to speak, live action short films is really my goal. So like, especially like Harbert's the Old, I've said this for a long time, is I've always wanted to get the resources and the people together to make a live action recreation of this. It's definitely on my list of things to do since I'm back. I have a huge laundry list of things to do. So as far as, will I do another reading? Perhaps, but my main goal is to do one of these live action things, at least to get one done. I think Harvest the Old would be a little bit harder. Now, maybe something like Alvis Mall would be really good, because then you just have Thor and then Allwise as the 2 people arguing. You just have to have 2 actors really, and then a good set for it. And I think there's a few stories out, other stories you could do. But there's certain stories, of course, like, Thor wrestling the world serpent. I don't have those kind of skills in my repertoire of video so at the moment. So maybe one day. So that's definitely kind of the goal moving forward with those. That's kind of how I want them to, evolve. Let's see, everything refreshed on me here. Just saying, first live stream for me. I'm glad to be here. I saw you commenting before I actually got on here as well. Good to have you here. I think, this is definitely the first time I've seen you. So welcome, and I'm glad you're enjoying the content. But real quick, I did have, of course, I just kind of want to move down the subjects here. So as far as me coming back to the States, I think one of the biggest changes for me I wanted to talk about, because I've been telling this to everyone. I've been meeting people for like, lunches and dinners, just get caught up with people here in Kentucky. And something I really wanted to share with all of you, which is something that really blew my mind. So of course, being in Germany, everything was in German. My German is okay. It's not great, but it was enough to get me around. But other than that, like, everything was written in German. So I couldn't actually read anything for about 3 months, which was absolutely bizarre. And it's not something, I ever really thought about. And then coming back to the States, I could read things again. And that absolutely overwhelmed me, and especially with the amount of billboards here in the United States. I mean, you have, like, I went up through Ohio before I actually came back down here to go get like one of my favorite restaurants. And I was overwhelmed by the amount of billboards in Ohio, particularly. It's not as bad in Kentucky, but like Ohio and Tennessee are so bad with billboards. And so coming back here, reading and constantly being, bombarded with advertisements, even when you're driving, I think is incredibly unhealthy. Now that I've been removed from that for so long, I feel like it almost gave me like anxiety. I was like, oh my gosh, like we're being just constantly bombarded by advertisements. I mean, just dollar signs everywhere. And that was just absolutely crazy to me. And it's been something I've been sharing with everyone. And they're like, they have like a reflection moment. They're like, oh my gosh, there are advertisements everywhere. And it was just one of those weird things that I didn't expect, that coming back, it would kind of hurt my brain a little bit. Let's see here. Mamba Bear, how was Germany? Damn good. I wish I actually had. I didn't bring back. Like, here's one of the things I brought back. It's this little owl with a beer. Like, this is like the kind of things I bought there, because the amount of luggage I had to take there, not only photography equipment, but just like clothing. I already had, I think it was a 60-pound suitcase and a completely full carry-on bag. And I already had to pay extra to get that suitcase to Germany. I think I ended up having to pay like $300 in luggage alone just to get it there. And so the idea of bringing more back with me wasn't really an option. I think I got one book, I got a couple knickknacks, a couple gifts for friends and family. But other than that, again, this is like the only thing on my desk that reminds me that I've been in Germany. But it was an absolutely incredible trip. Of course, it has its highs and lows. Everything in life has its highs and lows. And, the first month was kind of hard. It was a hard adjustment period. But I would say July, I really hit my stride. And by August, I really felt acclimated. I had a daily routine there. And it was definitely hard to leave once I finally had the daily routine. Let's see here. Saywiz says, similar to billboards when I came back from rural Louisiana, the sound of big city overwhelmed me. I feel you. Yeah, and that was interesting. So even though I was in Munich, I was kind of in like the north side of Munich, and it's not really loud unless there's a football/soccer game. Let me tell you, this is my first time experiencing football/soccer on a European level. I like soccer. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I actually really like going up to FC Cincinnati. They just built themselves a new arena, and I really want to go to. But man, Europeans take it at a whole new level. You all are crazy about soccer. So I remember one night I was just laying in bed, and I could tell there was a game on because the whole city would yell when they would score. So I'm literally just sitting there trying to fall asleep, and I hear, ah! And then like the entire city. It wasn't just like one neighbor, it was the whole city. So I was actually kept up with the score. I knew the score was 3-0. And sure enough, I woke up and looked at the score, and it was 3-0. Now, yeah, it's one of those things where I was like, I was kind of glad when they lost because then I could actually get some sleep. But that was really the only noise I experienced there. The ambulances were an interesting thing. I've always seen them in like British movies, or at least heard them in the European movies. It's very interesting. They have a different noise, like they're so I just heard those all the time too. I need to put these back on. Let's see here. Sorry, it takes me a while to read. Del Schneider also says, how was your cat? My cat hated me at first. So she definitely took her revenge on me a lot. I've had to give her extra special attention all the time. And the person that was watching my house and watching my cat had decided to buy her about 50 toys. I have 2 toys for my cat, for Miri, because I don't want her to get spoiled, and because I'm a minimalist, so therefore I don't like owning a lot of things. And so I came home, and there was just toys absolutely everywhere. It was like a landmine field of cat toys. And so she became absolutely spoiled. And even to the point where, like, food, like I even said when I left, like, she gets half a tiny can of cat food every single day, and plus dry food. And she was getting about a full, huge can every single day. And she also is a weird cat in the sense that she likes drinking dripping water from a faucet rather than actual water in a bowl, and also was spoiled with that the entire time. So now all she wants is a full can of cat food every day. She wants to play with her 50 toys, which aren't here anymore because I just can't stand that. So she has one toy, which is right there, actually. And there's like an elephant somewhere as well, like a little squeaky elephant. But she's finally getting used to it again. But, I could definitely tell she missed me. And I was told by the cat sitter, that she seemed to miss me, at least when I first got here as well. So let's see here. You will love soccer whether you want to or not. Yes. So let's see here. So far as the travel process, I did want to share this a little bit because this is, it was kind of a crazy part of the story. And I feel like part of this is just kind of me decompressing from this experience as well. Um, so to actually get back here, I had to fly from Munich to France, to Paris, and from Paris to Atlanta, and then Atlanta to Cincinnati. In total, it was about a 16-hour process to get back here, which honestly wasn't too bad. I figured I'd also share a little bit of like, the global climate and everything. I don't know if live streams get weird when you say it anymore, but how was it traveling during these times? And it wasn't too bad. The only thing I really had to do was in Paris. I had like a checkpoint where I had to show like my negative test because I did need a negative test to fly, but that was really all I needed, especially to get back to the United States. So I went up to like the Paris gate and I basically showed them my ID and and I showed that like I said like I have a negative COVID test and they were just like you don't need that. And they just like gave me back my passport and sent me on my way. Now, Delta, since I flew back Delta to the States, they did check everything. Like I had to go through like a security checkpoint kind of thing for them to actually approve everything, make sure the test was legit. And they kind of interrogated me a little bit, which was kind of weird because I walked up to the Delta line and then I was like, oh, I need to call my mom to let her know that I'm coming back, that I'm like, on the big flight. And so I went around the corner real quick and called my mom. And then I come back and these two ladies are sitting there and they're like, who are you talking to? I'm like, my mom? And they're like, what were you talking about? The fact that I'm flying home? And they were like kind of suspicious of me that I made a phone call before I got on this plane. And then like she looked, made me take my mask down and she like looked at my ID and one of them was just like, what's with boys these days and beards? And I'm like, because I don't have a chin if I don't have a beard. And she's like, there was a good old days when men were clean shaven. I'm like, I'm sorry. And I kind of like looked at her. I'm like, my chin's right here. Like no one would take me seriously if this was my face. Like, look at that. If I didn't have a beard, it's nothing. I look weird. I just have a round grape head. I'm a grape head. So I need a beard. So it was just kind of weird that I got like interrogated and then like she was French and maybe the French just aren't about the beards. I don't know. Now I did hear that like Paris, like Charles de Gaulle Airport is kind of notorious for being a little pretentious. Luckily, I didn't have that too bad, but I was only there for like an hour, so it wasn't too bad. The flight back to the States, Atlanta, was great because I got 2 seats, which was absolutely beautiful. I got 2 seats on that plane. Like it just was half booked. I mean, you really can't come to the States unless you're a United States citizen right now. And so I just had 2 seats. I got to lay back. I had like 4 pillows. But the really funny thing is it was a Delta flight, so everyone on there was American and presumably from Atlanta. And they got resupplied in France, which I thought was hilarious because they didn't know what the food was. So they were trying to they were pushing the little trolleys and they pulled out something and they kind of looked at everybody and they're like, I think it's beef. And I think this is pasta. And they're like, what's in it? And they're like, we have no idea because it was all in French. And it was really foo-foo. Like I got like a beef bourguignon or whatever with like mashed potatoes and like a quinoa and kale salad. And then like later they came by like right before we landed and they're like, we got cheese pizzas here. I'm like, oh, sweet cheese pizza. And they hand it to me. This is not a cheese pizza. It is the best guess they had. It was a bread thing that had been stuffed with goat cheese and apples and like 2 other things. And I'm like, this was not a cheese pizza. This is like a foo-foo cheese pizza. But I thought that was just really funny. Atlanta was actually the worst. Coming into Atlanta, and I think this was just normal Atlanta because apparently Atlanta airport's just absolutely terrible, and I hated it because I had to wait like 2 hours through a security checkpoint to like literally walk up, hand the guy my passport, and he looked at me, looked at that, and was like, "You're good." So I waited 2 hours for that, and then it was just like you had to go pick up your luggage, drop off your luggage again, go through security again, and then you could go to your flight. It was an absolute nightmare. But yeah, so it was interesting, and it was great to kind of digest all the experience as well. So let's go through here once again. I can tell you with experience, French women tend to love the beards. Not these ones. Wisdom of Odin, did you meet any Germanic pagans while in Germany? So not really. So this is kind of interesting. I do talk about this a little bit in the Paganism on the Go series. And that was from Kingdom of Vinland. So not when I first got there, the only person I ran into the entire time I was there worked at the Valhalla like building, like which I did a video about. and it was like a recreation of like the Parthenon in Athens, but it was made to be Valhalla and hold all the great inventors and speakers of the Germanic language, which was really cool. If you haven't watched that video, it is really good. It was a really cool place. The security guard there that was like motioning people in had a Mjolnir, but he was kind of scary looking, and he was really old, and he definitely didn't look like he wanted an American coming up to him that didn't speak German and saying like, "Hey, I'm a Norse pagan. How's it going?" That didn't look like the conversation this man wanted to have. So that was the only one I actually encountered while there. Now, when I was leaving, so tourism actually opened July 1st officially. And after that, I started seeing more and more. But at the same time, I believe they were tourists. So I think a lot of Norse pagans that were there, that were visible in the sense they had tattoos or Mjolnirs or t-shirts or anything like that, didn't live there that I ran into. One thing that was really cool, though, this was absolutely adorable. I found one pagan store while I was there. And it was really just a medieval store that sold pagan wares. And it was super small. Like, I kid you not, my office may be the same size of the store. And I walk in, and the owner was not pagan by any means, but she definitely sold pagan wares. And she didn't speak great English. She reminded me a lot of Egna from The Incredibles, because when I walked in, there was a counter, and I could just see the top of her head. And she had these massive glasses on. And then like I could see her kind of like hop up and look at me, and I was like, "Oh, sorry, my German's not so great. I'm here. I'm interested in Norse mythology, blah blah blah." And she was like, "Oh, you like Vikings? Yes, yes, Vikings. I have Viking things." I was just so excitable about it. And she was like, "You are American." She's like, "I love Americans. You always like Viking things." And I just, she was just such a sweet woman. And her English was so bad, but she was just so excitable that like the Americans had returned to buy her Viking wares. Let's see here. Raul, what's up? You should have landed in Spain and eat a Ciranito with me. What's a Ciranito? I did actually fly through Spain on the way there. Spain was the only thing that absolutely terrified me. So I, of course, had to have an enormous amount of paperwork to get into Germany, especially at the time I did. And Spain was the only country to actually check my paperwork. So I had about 8 or 10 pages of paperwork to get into the country, of course, with negative tests and all those good things. And I showed him to like the Spanish border police as I flew through Spain to go into Munich. And he didn't speak English really, but he still inspected my paperwork. And like he kind of looked, it took him like 15 minutes, and he read every single page of it, and he gave me nothing. I was kind of like trying to like maybe conversate a little bit, get a hint of what the paperwork was like, because at this point I had no idea if I was getting into Munich or not, and I'm in Spain right now. And yeah, seriously. And then he called someone else in, and the other guy like inspected it like completely, like every document I had. And like they finally look up at me, they grab like one of the stampers, and they just clunk it and like hand it back, no words, and I just okay, go in. So that was my experience in Spain, but Spain looked really pretty. Looked very similar to California from what I could tell. Raul's border agents in Spain always look suspicious to people. Well, maybe they need to fix that, because that was absolutely scary. Soul Sounds, what do you say up here? Lady was Viking wares if you have coin. I had coin. I had the euro. So let's see here. What other fun things I have to talk about? So I did actually want to talk about kind of the spirituality experience, because I kind of want to keep it fresh. So as far as spirituality there, of course, I did bring my travel altar, which I did talk about. Sorry, these are bothering me. I did bring my travel altar. I talked about in the first Paganism on the Go episode, and kind of went through everything that was in there. And I set it up once, and I never looked at it again, which was kind of interesting. And that's one thing I did want to kind of talk about in this video. Is one of the things that I really learned while in Germany is, like, of course I have like my daily practices video, and a lot of people have daily practices. A lot of us use our, altar spaces for most of our practice. Just, even if you don't have access to going outside. I mean, even I haven't really been on a hike since getting back, but I didn't use my altar space that I had with me at all. And it's because I didn't really feel the need to. And I didn't really have any prolific, like life-altering things that happened to me in Germany as far as the spirituality goes. But it really taught me about living the spirituality every single day. And maybe it was because I was in Germany and I didn't really need to. I was connected to, a place that, there's pagan energy all around. And there's so much small little pagan tidbits everywhere. Like one of my favorite places to have coffee in the mornings was down in the like basically downtown Munich in the historical district at the Temple of Diana, which I recorded a couple of videos at. And it was just because it felt so pagan, even though it was very manicured, manicured garden, but it was still a temple to Diana, a Roman goddess. And then my other favorite place was Nymphenburg Palace, and that was actually the last place I went to when I came back. It was like really when I wanted to go visit, and that's also where I filmed the Balder video. And yes, it's not necessarily Germanic pagan; it's not Nordic pagan, but it's still very pagan. You have these beautiful, lush grounds, that are obviously very well maintained by the. I believe there's still like kingdom money there, but they're really well maintained. And then there's kind of forest back in there, and there's these random statues you'll encounter. Like in one spot, it's just like down the path. It's really not even a path many people were on, and there was just a statue to a faun there, or like maybe it was Pan, but it was just like a faun sitting there playing a flute with like animals behind it, and the statue with like a waterfall. And it's like those places are everywhere, and it made me really long for that here in the States because it's something I feel like we're really missing here in the sense that you can't just wander about and run into pagan things unless it's natural or Native American. So that's something that I really would love to see as time moves on and as paganism continues to grow. Is I really like to see more monuments, so to speak, more landmarks for pagan things pop up in the States in a more predominant way. I'm sure there's some out there, but not to the extent there are in Europe still. Because I think having those things around me at all times, having this random gods references everywhere, like everywhere, there was a god face on it. Whether it was Roman, Greek, Germanic, whatever. I mean, there's still just figures of gods everywhere that you walk. And obviously, most people, probably 99% of the people that live in Munich, don't even recognize these things. But to someone like me, someone who's pagan, walking around and seeing these things all the time, it was kind of wonderful because you just realizing the gods are all around you, literally. And of course, the Odin statue itself was absolutely incredible, which, I filmed the Odin Week videos and filmed the entire video talking about the Odin statue. That was really cool as well. Then again, it's just something that we can't really do here in the States. Because let's just go see the Odin statue. So I really want to get to the point in the States again. I would really love to see it within all of our lifetimes, that there is an Odin statue you can just go visit again. There is, a temple to Freyr that you can go visit, a temple to Balder, a Freya Grove. Like, I want to see these things start popping up again. Because, living in that world, again, not necessarily Germanic or Nordic pagan, but living around that all the time, to the extent I was all I needed. And then, of course, I had the mountains as well, the Alps, and that was purely amazing. But again, it's not like I was having these profound religious experiences. I was just living the faith while there. And I think that's something that we should all strive to be in. I mean, I know it's something for me now that I strive, is that to live in just perfect bliss with the religion you're in. And, this is something I was kind of talking about with some friends when getting back here. I mean, really what we barely know about historical heathen and pagan veneration is that it wasn't something that was done every day. We don't have evidence that it was done every day. Could have been. Some people might have done it. Some people might have not. I'm sure there was just as much variation back then there is now. But for the most part, we can tell that people had large festivals and celebrations and rituals during seasonal changes, and perhaps during veneration days established by a community. And I think that's enough for me. I miss the gatherings. I miss going to these rituals that we hold as a community. I miss those a lot because obviously I miss the midsummer ones. I think we had 3 midsummer gatherings while I was gone in the community. And I missed those because I really felt like I was missing out because I was used to going gatherings almost every month at that point. But at least the seasonal gatherings, having a moment where you sat down and for 1 out of 4 times a year, you say, I recognize a seasonal change. I recognize what's happened in the past, and this is what I'm doing in the future. And I think those are so important to just humans, as having those moments. Church on Sunday, to me, is about control. It isn't about revelation or reminiscing, and it isn't about religion. If you're going to church every Sunday, that they're just trying to indoctrinate you. But when religion to me is every 3-4 months. When you have a big event, then it's actually about the faith. But maybe that's just my personal observations and my personal reflections while being in Germany over the summer. All right. Let me put these bad boys back on so I can read these things. Let's see here. What have I missed? Odin 3. Sirius Black, I'm a German, and there's a lot of fellow pagans out here. You just need to open your eyes. A lot of them are just affairs. So what I was kind of told by the people I talked to there is, for the most part, I mean, since I was in Munich, Munich is a really tourist heavy city. And so the chances of running into one there are fairly low, because the majority of the population there isn't actually like native to Germany. There was, people from all around the world there, like many major cities around the world at this point. Now, of course, there's a strong Bavarian culture still there, and I really got to enjoy Bavarian culture. But as far as like, I only went to a few small villages, and I would surmise that a lot of people that are pagan are probably in the smaller villages, or at least that's maybe where they're more predominant. But again, from my experience, my eyes were open, but I just simply didn't see anyone there. And again, it's not like I'm going up to people on the street and saying like, "Hey, are you pagan? Hey, are you pagan?" It was just, was I noticing tattoos? Was I noticing the honors, oath rings, anything like that? Any signifiers to show a pagan? And that's fine. Like, people don't want to reveal themselves and don't want to wear it out. It's perfectly fine. But I didn't detect anything negative at the same time. Let's see here. It looks like I'm fairly caught up in all the questions for the most part. The Wisdom of Odin. What's your favorite season? I'm already feeling Odin's energy increase as the days get shorter. So yes, my favorite season is the one we're coming into, is fall. So the fall gathering last year was probably one of the most incredible religious experiences of my life, just simply because of everything that happened. And I mean, if you haven't watched that video, please go back and watch it. The fall gathering is one of the most intense, religious experiences. Truly, there's so many crazy things happen during that event, and I really do think it's tied to the seasons. I really think that the fall time is a really charged and energized time to be a pagan, because it's the death energy. There's death energy all around you. The trees are going to sleep. It's the time at the end of a lot of things, the time to kind of gather everything into the house and prepare for winter. And so I think there's a really unique energy to fall. Now, it definitely feels like, like magic energy. Yule is great. Yule, I feel like, at least in my experience, I love winter. I always have. It's usually the time I hike the most, because I hate hiking in the summer. Like, I'm going for a hike tomorrow and it's just going to be brutally hot. And I know it, but I prefer to hike in the winter because, there's no snakes, there's no bugs, and it's cold. So yeah, I love hiking in winter. But as far as spiritually, I think fall for sure. And I've always liked fall, even as a kid. With spring is great. Spring is its own unique energy. But if I hate one summer, and I will claim this till the day I die, do not like summer. I do not like summer at all. And I made a vow to myself. I was like, I will never complain about the cold. I'll never complain about fall. I'll never complain about spring. But I will always complain about summer, because it's too damn hot, especially in Kentucky. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm having trouble comprehending things sometimes. Elias Alone says, I know in the States, a lot of pagans are rural and feel a lack of community. Honestly, even in cities, it's still hard to find community. It's weird. I don't know if it's because of Lexington, where I'm from, but there's a lot here. And most of them don't even like hang online. And there seems to be such a split. Like, there seems to be a good amount of pagans that hang out online. But if I encounter pagans in the wild, they're hardly ever online. And like, I remember like going to Target one day, and there was a woman there, and she had a Mjolnir on, and I asked her, I was like, "Oh, are you a Norse pagan? How into it are you?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm into it quite a bit. My partner and I practice it." And I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool." And I was like, "I run a YouTube about it." And they're like, "Oh yeah, I don't watch YouTube." I'm like, "Cool." And it was really interesting. And I would say that's the majority of pagan experiences I've had in person. I've been accused of being a pagan magnet sometimes. There's a really famous story of me being on a FaceTime call with some friends, because I was literally going to go get a milkshake at McDonald's, and it was late at night, and we were literally just playing video games. And literally, the guy that gave me my milkshake at McDonald's was a pagan, and this happens to me all the time, at least in the States. Scroll down here. When will you be in Cali? So our plan right now, we've been trying to get something going in Cali for a while. But first off, you need to tell Cali to calm down. There's always stuff going on in Cali that, it's crazy there. Everything's on fire all the time. I mean, quite frankly, it's been hard to kind of schedule something out that way. So our plan right now, if everything holds out, is to do something in Cali in January. I have someone in the community that lives out that way. We're starting to maybe get the pieces together, and we're going to try to maybe get something going in North Cali, probably by January. So aim for Yule. That's the plan. I plan on flying out there myself. So look for that. We've been, again, trying to do this for a while. We've slowly been creeping further west. The most predominant Western group we have one in Wisconsin that's been going for a while now. And we have one in like the Texas area. And we do have, we've had a couple of Idaho gatherings and then one in New Mexico, I believe. And there's another New Mexico one coming up here soon. So we're slowly getting more west, but it's been really hard to get further into Cali. Let's see here. So one thing I did want to talk about, oh, wait, one more funny thing. So one of the biggest things I missed about the United States, and I might lose some German love here, is the food. So German food, just in general, not just German food, not traditional German food, isn't that good. Now, again, don't crucify me yet, but hear me out. I went to several German restaurants. I mean, not just German. I ate out like 3 or 4 times a week. And yeah, there was some decent stuff, but nothing blew my mind. I was there for 3 months. I'm a foodie. I'm a restaurateur. I have 7 years of a restaurant experience, really almost 10 years, really, doing all sides of restaurant. Love the industry. And nothing in Germany blew my mind. Nothing was, to the point where I was like, damn, I'm going to miss this. Now, I did have traditional Bavarian food that was cooked for me, and that was really good. Having traditional Bavarian meal, I mean, it was literally just like pork, suckling pig, canoodle, and like, cabbage salad and all kinds of stuff. And it was really good. It was really good. But again, I ate at 5 traditional German restaurants while there. Some touristy, some not. And they weren't that great. I mean, it wasn't mind-blowing. Again, there's a Hofbräu house here in Cincinnati, and it's really good. And it's really good quality. It's, it's made right. It's made well. And it's delicious. And maybe that's my problem for having that and going there. But at the same time, it was the fact that everything wasn't prepared properly. Everything was overcooked or under-seasoned. And to me, that's not a cultural thing. To me, that's just the employees there were not very good at preparing what they were preparing. Okay, sorry. Don't crucify me. I mean, this is just my experience. If you have a problem with it, go to the German restaurants and tell them to cook better. But coming here, I miss food a lot. Now, in the benefit of Germany, everything has less salt, which I'm perfectly fine with. Even McDonald's there, everything has less salt. And I absolutely love that because salt is killing Americans. It's addictive. It's destroying our bodies, and it's in everything. They literally put it in everything to make you more addicted to it. And that's something I actually absolutely despise being back here, is everything is far too salty. I remember when I worked in a breakfast restaurant, like one serving of our potatoes there had like 900 milligrams of sodium, and it was just absolutely insane. And that was really, you get 2 servings. So you're getting like 1,800 milligrams of sodium in one go. So that is something I really like there, is the lower amount of sodium. But at the same time, that's not an excuse for the lack of seasoning in food. When something's bland, it's bland. But, oversalted is still a problem as well. So just need to find a balance. But I remember I ordered like a schnitzel, and the breading was literally falling off because it wasn't prepared properly. The potatoes were black and burnt. So it's just one of those things where it just wasn't. I didn't have a great experience in Germany with the food. It was okay, but I definitely missed food here in the States. Predominantly Chipotle. To be fair, I missed Chipotle quite a bit because there's really nothing like it out there. There's like one burrito place in like the very south end of Munich, and there's a few like taco places. But I did have really good Lebanese food there. I had Lebanese food that was really good. And I didn't have any like Italian food. I'm sure the Italian food's really good because you're so close to the border. I had a pizza there that was really good. But yeah, it was overall lacking. Let's see if you guys are crucifying me in the subject over here yet. Are you going to be opening any gatherings in Lexington this year? So at the moment, I mean, we're probably going to have a Kentucky. We don't necessarily ever have things in Lexington because there's not a lot of open land here. But we had 4 gatherings last year in Kentucky. We've been branching out a little bit more this year. So we have a gathering in a couple weeks in Pennsylvania. And then I think the Yule gathering this year will be in Kentucky. And I might be doing another gathering in November or October around Tennessee. So that might be the next closest. And then Kentucky, we'll probably be doing a Yule in Kentucky. But places are getting hard to find right now and more expensive just because everyone's starting to go out again. And a lot of places are getting rented out really fast, and they're really expensive. Let's see here. I am a foodie too. Bummer. Yeah, no, it was. the Wisdom of Odin. You're going to miss German beer. It's the best. German beer was great. German beer was great. Did not like beer gardens. Now, again, this is probably me. I'm not a big drinker. I don't drink very often, mostly for health reasons. I don't necessarily have the body to drink very often, simply for a heathen, but I just can't simply drink that much. Like this is like a blueberry smoothie thing that's super healthy. And that's what I got to drink mostly. But the German beer was really good. I like the beer garden, the experience of drinking the beer, having a liter of beer sitting outside, drinking it. Beer gardens are it's chaos. It's absolute chaos. And I just don't like that kind of environment. You know, you walk in, there's people everywhere, people bumping into you. You don't really know where to go. You're really rushed into everything. You know, you get in a line, all of a sudden you get up and they're just like shoving things in your hand and you're kind of denying it or they're yelling at you. So I'm not about that beer garden life. But yes, the German beer was really good. And one of the things I do like about German beer culture is the fact that you can drink beer anywhere. You know, so you can go to the park. Like one of my favorite things I remember seeing in my last few days there, we were walking through Olympian Park, and there's people all just on the side of this hill watching the sunset, drinking beer. Because you can do that there. You can literally drink beer wherever the hell you want. You can drink beer by the river, in the park, you know, just in the middle of the street. It doesn't matter. There's, you know, I saw someone just crack it open on the, you know, on the subway one day. You know, and that's good in a sense. It's a sense of freedom. You can drink with your buddies anywhere. You're not limited to a bar. But at the same time, I believe maybe this is a city thing, but there's not enough public trash cans. So there's beer bottles everywhere. They're left everywhere, bottle caps everywhere. It was very dirty in the parks most of the time because there was just beer bottles everywhere. And again, these are a recyclable thing. You know, I think Germany claims to be very green. So I wish there was more recycling. You know, how hard would it be to have recycling bins every 50 feet in a park? I mean, really, it's not that hard. And I think would improve a lot of things because I do like the fact that there is a really strong outdoor beer drinking culture that isn't dangerous. Like, you know, you think of outdoor beer drinking in like New York City, like it's sketchy. But in Munich, it was really nice. And it definitely seemed to have a lot of cultural roots to it. The Evolver 990 says, "Are you going to have do a UK gathering? I'd love to host it with you." So we're trying to get something going in the UK. I haven't seen the update on it in a bit. But again, the UK has been kind of crazy lately. And so it's been kind of hard to get something going there. I know we had plans there for a bit. I know Seeker of Wisdom, Zach, who has his own YouTube channel, not part of my community. I would say like a close friend and ally of the community. They had their own gathering not too long ago, and I know they're planning another one. And so we're trying to get one going there as well. But we have not successfully had an international gathering yet. It's kind of a race between our international fellowship leaders to see who gets one done first, whether it's going to be Australia, which is also Australia right now. And then there's the UK, and then we have a South African group kind of growing as well, which is really cool. Let's see here. What did you like most about Munich? So this isn't necessarily a Munich thing, but is a Bavarian thing. So I really like Bavarian culture. I really grew fond of it while there. It's very Hobbit-esque. There's a very Hobbit lifestyle to the Bavarians, at least traditionally there. And one of the things I really, you know, they're really proud of, like the Bavarians flag is blue and white. It's like blue and white checkers. And so the reason for that is because the Bavarian sky is really well known. And the Bavarian sky is absolutely gorgeous. You probably saw it in a lot of my videos. Is any day it actually was sunny, which was very rare. It was incredibly, incredibly beautiful. And that is something I constantly talk about. You know, if I write it down, is Bavarian skies. I miss them. I miss them so much. It just really made everything so beautiful. And again, I do miss the outdoor drinking in a sense. Like there is a sense of culture there still that, you know, is missing in places in the United States where people are doing things that people did 600, 700,000 years ago. And they still do it today. They might not know why they do it, but they still do it. You know, so to think, like, you know, people sitting there watching the sunset with a beer in their hands. How long have people been doing that? You know, I bet people in Munich have been doing that for hundreds and hundreds of years. And they don't even know why. I don't even know when it started. They just started doing it. And so I really appreciate that. And I would definitely say Munich itself, I'm going to mention Nymphenburg Palace. The fact that I was a 20-minute tram ride away from Nymphenburg Palace, and at any given time I could go there for a walk. It was great exercise to walk there. It was absolutely beautiful. It was great to film there. It wasn't too overly crowded, because that was one thing that hopefully you noticed in those videos, is it was so hard to film there. Just because of so many people. I didn't want to be intrusive, but at the same time, I had to get videos done. So there's people, so many people, it was so crowded. But Nymphenburg Palace was big enough and kind of, not as popular in the sense that there was just mass tourists there. But it was just truly beautiful. So those are the kind of things I'm going to miss. Having my coffee down in the old district of Munich, things like that, I will definitely miss. All right, let's see here. Did the gods feel more prevalent in Germany versus the United States? So I'm going to say same, but different. So I do plan on making a follow-up video to my North American paganism video that I made back in January to kind of talk about these differences. I do feel the land here in North America, particularly Kentucky, a lot more. And really, the Appalachians. Yes, the Alps are beautiful. Don't get me wrong. Alps are one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. The Swiss Alps, in particular, mind blowing. My eyes are still melting from that experience. But the Appalachian Mountains are older than the Alps. I think the Appalachian Mountains are the 5th or 4th oldest mountain chain in the world. And, and that's only just shy of, beating out some of the oldest, like there's one mountain chain that is supposedly 4 billion years old. And I think in South Africa, but Appalachians are ridiculously old. And so to be the Appalachians, while not big, are very deeply magical. There's, something so mysterious and just beautiful about the Appalachians that still have my heart, and I've missed them dearly. So as far as like land spirits, Landvatir, I feel Landvatir here more. And I would say I would even feel certain deities more. I would say that's maybe why the Vonic deities are a little bit more popular here, is simply because the land has such a grip on people. And not to mention, if you live in the middle of corn country, Freyrs should be your go-to deity. But I would say like I obviously talked about having a pretty intense, ancestor experience within Germany because my family is German. Like, I think it's like my mom's side or my grandmother's side is pure, like straight from Germany. And so I do have a very, rich connection to that soil, to that dirt. So to even be in that place, to step foot in places where it's like, wow, I might have, thousand year old ancestors buried here. That was a really cool kind of experience. And, I would definitely describe it as, just feeling connected to the earth in a way that I really haven't felt here, because like my family history here is very Baptist. I've been to the old family plots here in Kentucky, and it just feels more awkward because it's like, hello, great grandfather who was a Baptist minister who would have hated me. I'm your grandson, great grandson. But there it's like, there actually is a connection to the pagan ancestors, which we all have. I mean, that's, something that I think that binds us all as humans together, is that we all have these pagan roots deep down. There's always that meme passing around, 99% of your ancestors were pagan. I mean, I think it's literally 100%, 100% of ancestors for everyone were pagan. And so I think anytime you feel that connection to the buried old bones is really cool. Now, as far as like the gods, again, I didn't have anything prolific, and I think that's okay. The biggest moment I had was in Switzerland when I was swimming in the lakes there. And so I was in the mountain lake where I filmed that interview, and I was swimming there afterwards, and being in that ice cold water in the middle of a snow melt, literally snow was just melting off these massive mountains, massive, going into the water. The water was ice cold. It was crystal teal blue. It was amazing. So to actually dive into that and feel the spirit of the mountain. And then I came up, and I shit you not, 2 ravens came flying down off of the mountain. And so that was a pretty cool experience. And naturally, like the Odin statue was really cool. The Norn fountain was really cool as well. And those videos feel like capture my kind of experience there. But it was much more natural. I would say, the God experiences there were more fluid. They were less extreme, but more subdued. But I think that's what you kind of want, is more subdued. So maybe that was just me personally. So my path has kind of evolved more of the 6 or 7 years I've been practicing now, and kind of leveling out. But at the same time, it was just, it was different. So like I said, same, but different. Darius, glad to see you back, brother. Darius, glad to see you as well. Let's see here. I love how everyone just ends up talking here, and I'm like, I guess I'll just continue to talk as well. People, you all are just having your own conversation. So the last part of here, so we're down to the last. Oh my gosh, we're at the last 10 minutes here. So I did want to talk about. I think, let's see. Cute girly goth, wisdom of Odin, the honeymoon phase of being a new pagan is a real thing. Yeah, for sure. There was this really great interview with George Lucas I watched, and he was talking about the difference between pleasure and joy, and how joy will never feel as good as pleasure, but it will last longer. And so, and pleasure is almost like a drug in the sense that once you feel it, it's great at first, but then it's only going to get lesser each time, and you're always going to be searching for it. And I think that happens to a lot of people in this path, is that they have a really intense experience. Many of us do, and it's great. But you're going, people end up chasing that so much that it eventually burns them out. Your goal should not to be seek pleasure in this experience, in this faith, is to seek joy and comfort. And I think that's why I'm so big on community, is because community is joy. I gather with friends and folk in the community because I love the feeling of just sitting out at night, smoking a pipe, drinking, and looking up at the stars with people who believe in the old ways, just like me, and just being friends and just being a community. That is what brings me true happiness and joy. I don't seek these explosive religious moments much anymore. I mean, when they happen, it's great. And I feel like that's how it is for a lot of people, is they happen sometimes. But for the most part, you should seek joy, because that is what's really going to make you happy. So yeah, that's kind of the end of the pagan honeymoon phase, so to speak. Say Wiz says, I got to hit the bed and got to get to work. Glad you're back and safe and sound. Glad you're well. Get to bed, get to work, enjoy Spain, and hope you are well. Babushka, it's about time you're finally here. Pipe gang, yes. Need my pipe. It's been too long. Oh my gosh. Niles Moeller says, Jacob, did you bring anything back from Germany for your altar? I did. I'm trying to think. So I brought back 3 things. Well, really 2 things there for me. I brought back various gifts for people, just like rocks from the Alps. One thing I got for me is I had a vial that I brought with me, and I collected water from the Alps, because now I have water from the top of the world in Germany, and that's awesome. And then the other thing I brought back is I found a crow feather at the Norn fountain. So, finding a crow feather at the Norn fountain felt pretty significant. So I brought that for the altar as well. But that's really it. I mean, I wasn't really thinking there for material gains. I was thinking, I was really there to seek experiences, to seek better understanding, and to seek, I don't know, just like clarity. I really wanted to travel. I'm the first person in my family in almost 100 years that has left the United States. And that feels really good, to finally have done that. It was always been a dream of mine. And so, that's really why I went, was for the experiences and not any kind of material gain. So the last thing I do want to talk about here is kind of plans for the future. Because, anyone here, you're kind of watching it still, you've made it this far, watching it afterwards. Hopefully you're a fan at that point, because you've watched me talk for 52 minutes straight. So I kind of want to talk about what's going on in the future here. So what I'm working on right now is I'm working on a video about the elves. So I've been working on notes for that. And this kind of continues something that I was really working on before I left Germany, and that is a studying of the mythology. And so I really wanted to break down a lot of the mythology we have, stuff that doesn't necessarily help you in the faith today, but something that, I want to kind of break down, like elves, breaking down where they came from, what are their origins, where are they now? And, there's a lot behind elves. And so I really just kind of want to share that information with everyone, and then maybe try to draw it to the faith today and what it can mean for you. And so that video is coming out here soon. And then I'm going to get kind of weird with it. Kind of like what I was talking about with joy. I really want to focus on these topics that I think are going to help people who really care about Norse paganism, who really care about this faith moving forward in the future, and things that I think should be the core principles of the faith. In the sense of like hospitality. Hospitality is something I think gets lost on us so many times as we think about Odin and Thor, and giving offerings and runes and all these things and these big explosive moments and rituals. But hospitality is one of the most important characteristics of Scandinavian society throughout history, and especially the religion. So I really want to do a series talking about hospitality and how to be a good host, and how to, and create a warm and inviting home. And then also I want to talk more about books. So something that I really missed was my book library. My book library is right here, and I had literally 2 books there. I had Poetic and Prose Edda, and it was great to do the God Week stuff. But I really missed having all these resources. Book videos are never that incredibly popular, and that's the thing. I think one of the biggest things I broke away from is the need to make popular content. because I think that is the biggest struggle as any YouTuber is the balance between creativity and what gets views. And I was really struggling with that before I left. Is I still wanted to make content that was creative and was good, but then also making content that got views because that's something you need to have a good channel to stay in the algorithm is to get views. But I honestly just don't give a fuck anymore. I want to talk about things that I think are important to talk about, and books are very important. I think being a very well learned pagan is important to this faith. So I really want to talk more about books. I have quite a few books that I've already ordered. I think I've ordered 6 books since already being back. I've already read 3 of them. I read so many books while in Germany. I think in total in my trip, I read 15 books while I was gone, and I needed that. And books are so important. Of course, I'm so big on go outside, get off your phone, and also read more books. I think when you read, you expand your minds in such positive ways. But we get tired because all we do is read nowadays. We read social media posts, we read text messages, and so I really think we need to move towards reading books again. But also encouraging people to write and record their own sagas is something that's really important to me. Like I have Jason Rawls, the Chaos Path book that he wrote while I was gone. And then I have Babushka. I have your book here that I'm getting to read now. And that also brings me to the fact that, as some of you may know, I'm starting to think about and get to the point where I'm writing my own book. Now, some of you on Patreon know kind of what I was writing about before. I was writing a modern survival guide to heathenry, as many people do. I mean, I have 2 on my shelf, or 3 on my shelf right now, books how to get into the faith. That might still happen, but I'm really thinking about something else. So I read a really good book while I was gone. It was called The Norse Queen. Let me see. I'll look at the author real quick. It was on my Kindle here. So I read this series. It was called the Norse Queen series, and it was a fiction-based book, but it was based on historical information and what we have. So it had recreations of rituals in a fictional way. So yes, it was still fiction in the sense it's like, no, this didn't actually happen, but it was still informed enough that I think it was really worth reading. And it was nice to see it in a way that evolved naturally in your eyes. So let's see here. Let me get this author up. But I really like that. So I think that's kind of the direction I want to go, because at the end of the day, I'm not a PhD scholar, nor do I want to be a PhD scholar. I'm not a linguist, nor do I want to be a linguist. This channel is a way for me to share my faith, and my experience in this faith with you. It has evolved into a wonderful community that I hope continues to grow and flourish, and maintains the backbone of just being about the faith. But also, when it comes to me writing a book, I want to be creative about it. I wanted to enjoy it. I want to give something to the community that really isn't there. So these books are written by, of course, there's a giant red thing on them. The Norse Queen, the Falcon Queen, the Raider Bride by Joanna Wittenberg, I think is the name of the author. Oh gosh, why does it not allow me to see those right away? Let me go to the very beginning here. Please hold. I wish it would just tell me that. Oh my gosh. But yeah, Joanna Wittenberg is, I think, her name. Here, I can just Google it. Gosh, it's so much easier. Norse Queen book. Yeah, Joanna Wittenberg is the author of it. They're really short reads, but they're really good. They're a lot of fun. Now, I don't, they go a little too in depth with warging. Like the second book has a lot of warging into it, in the sense that you can like transmit your soul into an animal, and it's like that's a little far-fetched for me. But there is writings of people shape-shifting and things like that. Maybe it takes a little too far, but as far as like the rituals, and it kind of goes through like a yearly life of the main character, and so you get to see a lot of the yearly cycles and rituals play out. And I really love that. I really enjoyed reading those. I think I read those 3 books in about a week. They were really good. And so I want to write more books like that. Maybe not necessarily historical fiction, but one of the things I'm really thinking about, you know what? No, I'm not going to say that yet. I'm going to keep that to myself, because I'm still working on the idea and I'm really excited about it. But I really want to, maybe if I'm going to write, if I'm going to actually take the time to write, to ask money for a book, I want it to be something unique and something that I think brings something to the community. And while there is, of course, a survival guide, an introduction to the faith, I could write that. But at the end of the day, isn't that what this channel is about? Isn't this what this channel is for? Is to help people getting into the faith for the first time. So I think a creative fiction book would be better served. But I'm still working on that, and stay up to date. I've talked about Patreon, possibly adding a tier at some point. giving exclusive updates on the book. I'm not quite ready to do that yet, but the moment I'm actually ready to sit and commit down to writing, serious pages every single day, I will add a tier on Patreon for people to support me there and get up-to-date updates on that book, and probably get some free books as well. But that is kind of like the main goal right now. Of course, I'm going to get back to video making, get back to all those things. I have the notes, plan on going to film tomorrow for the Elf video this Friday, and immediately start getting back to 2 episodes a week. But this live stream really just served as a way for me to share my experience with you, show my face again, get used to talking here in the United States about Norse paganism, get to know some of the new folk here as well. And yeah, I'm excited to be back. Even though it is sad to be back. I mean, I definitely, I was warned it's going to take me a while to feel normal here, and it definitely is. It's taken me some time, and yeah, I'm getting used to it again. But I'm excited to share the revelations I had while in Germany, and maybe it'll change my content in a way that I think it needs to be changed in. Maybe not necessarily changed it, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Stick with the content, subscribe, and all those good things. We'll see where the Wisdom of Odin goes. But I'm excited. This trip was definitely, faded in a way, and I'm excited to have done it. Let me get any closing questions here, and we will end this live stream, because at this point, I'm just rambling like a madman. Oh, and I apologize about my hair. Do you see this? This is absolutely ludicrous. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, I haven't had a haircut since I left, because I was so scared to talk German to a German barber, because I'd be afraid what they did. But this hair is it's ludicrous. What am I supposed to do with this? I'm getting not cut off, but like Wednesday, I'm getting it cut. But look at that. It's crazy. That's how we're going to end this on. Let's see. What was that? Chef Varner, welcome back to the States. I hope your visit to Germany was amazing. Thank you very much. I can never have enough content about the old ways. Good. Aliens. Let's see. I've always wanted to write a historical type fantasy. Yep. Working on a fiction inspired by the mythology in part over here too. Soul Sounds. That's awesome. I think that's what we need to see. I really want to create and encourage other people to write stories about the faith in a way that promotes it moving forward. That's something I've always been about. Like, no one can write another Rosetta. That's not going to happen. All we can do is write about our experiences and, and our stories, and hope it carries into future generations even better. Let's see here. Nicholas Kampskal, good to have you back back to the correct time zone soon. Yep. Let's see here. Glad to have you back. Thank you so much, Soul Sounds. Thank you so much for everyone that has been here as well. Vince Clark, thank you for showing me the Mind of the Gods. Hey, that's great. Glad you found it, but find the joy in it too. There's a lot of joy out there. It's not, that's the biggest thing I think I said in this video, is just find the joy in the faith, and, be okay with, having 89 people watch you do this to your hair and still have a good time in the faith. But everyone, I think I'm going to get off of here. Thank you so very much. And truly, I really can't tell you, the biggest reflection I had while there is the fact that 2 years ago, I turned on the camera for the first time and recorded my introduction to, the Wisdom of Odin, on what I wanted to be, after, creating an Instagram account that had 1,000 subscribers or followers when I started this. And that How to Focus first video got a grand total of like 35 views. I think it got up to 90, I think, pretty quick. And then the second video got 40, and then 50, then 40, and then 15, and 50, and 50. And I remember filming a video in October, I think it was, and it was like, I have 100 subscribers, people, and now I get 100 new subscribers every single day. And that's what it does to my hair. I really don't know what to do with that information sometimes, but you all make it worth it. And the amazing people that support this channel on Patreon, the amazing people who comment on this, watch every single video, like things, and are just so kind to me, even though I'm absolutely insane. Thank you. It means so much. And thank you for joining me for this live stream. Thank you for watching the Wisdom of Odin. And until the hall, skull. Oh, wait. We need to do it. Hold on. Everyone say skull. I forgot to do it. Oh my gosh. So one thing I like to do on live streams is we're resetting the skull. We're resetting it. So on live streams, I like to create a skull waterfall. It's something I've done in the past. Oh no, they're already starting. Okay, basically I create a skull waterfall. Everyone just says skull. It's really great. But I would just say until the hall, and then I wait, and then everyone just go. Just join in, and everyone say skull. It's really a fun time. So yes, until the hall, skull. Yeah, you got it.